So about 7 years ago, I was studying in my basement one night, and then I just had this out-of-body experience. I saw like my body, my soul like come out of my body. I was looking at myself from far. That happened, which triggered fear of death because I thought I was dying. And then that led me to depression. That triggered depression. And then I couldn't go to school anymore. And I told my parents, but I didn't tell them, hey, I'm depressed. I was just saying I don't feel normal. I'm like, something's wrong with my head. Like, I'm having weird thoughts, and this happened to me in the basement, and like I can't function in school. And I talked to my friend, and she was like, maybe you have a jinn. So she took me to the masjid where they do the Quran recitation. Nothing happened. So I was actually hoping I was possessed. I was hoping, because that would give me an answer, right? This is why she's doing this, right? Like, it's not her. Nothing's wrong with her. It's the jinn doing this. It's nothing wrong. The Malika's normal, but the jinn is making her be this way. So that'll make me like, you know, like I wouldn't feel bad about myself. After that, I think I started getting panic attacks, which were the physical symptoms. So that landed me in the emergency room a few times because you feel like you're dying, like your heart is beating, you can't breathe. Like, I feel like I'm blacking out. I don't know, anxiety is kind of like more physical for me. I don't know for anybody else, but for me, it's more physical symptoms. Like I'll feel sick, but depression is more like you're alone, like you're inside. In your mind, you feel like it doesn't matter where you are, everything is dark. When I was going through that, my kids, they'll be like playing, and I wasn't even talking to my kids. I couldn't talk to them. I couldn't enjoy anything, food, going to school, everything that like was important to me before, nothing mattered. All I could think about was death. I feel like, yeah, depression for me is harder than anxiety. Because if you say you have a mental health issue, that means you're crazy, right? But they don't see me. Nobody thinks that I'm going through a mental health issue because I'm talking. I think they just have a black and white like perspective. Like it's either like you're normal or you're crazy. There's no like middle. So you can't be like, oh, today I'm feeling anxious. And also talking about emotions, and like in our families, you don't really talk about emotions. So I think that's an issue too. Like, forget mental health, like mental illness, like even just normal emotions. If you're sad, that's usually like something you don't talk about. And so some people do think that if you're a Muslim, if you're a good Muslim and you're a true believer, then you can never be depressed or anxious, which is totally false. And I think that's one of the reasons people don't want to come out and say they're depressed, because they're like, okay, then that means I'm a bad Muslim. Because a believer is supposed to feel happiness and peace. We always hear that, right? And then I wasn't feeling that. So I did think something was wrong with my faith. And then I started doubting myself, if I was a true believer or not. And then I was thinking thoughts like, am I really a Muslim? Like, am I just a Muslim because my parents are Muslim? Am I really believing this? Maybe I'm just Muslim because I went to madrasa and then I just followed whatever everybody was following. And then I'm like, if I'm thinking this way, then that means I'm doubting. That means I'm a hypocrite. And then I'm reading verses about those who doubt, and the hypocrites are like the worst in hell. So all that was like going through my mind. So then I'm like, I can't read. And then I couldn't even read it anymore because it's giving me so much anxiety. And then I'm like, do I really believe in Allah? It came to that point, to like, it went that bad, and I thought like I couldn't pray anymore too, because I'm like, if I don't really believe, then why am I praying? And so I didn't want to be a hypocrite, so I'm like, I have to stop praying until I'm like really certain in my faith. And then after I felt better, after I felt like I had a connection with God, then I was able to open the Quran again with a fresh new, like a fresh perspective. Yeah, and everything just started becoming more clear for me, and I started praying again and stuff like that. But like in the beginning, it's very hard. But it could have went really like the opposite way too. Like I could have just not come back, but I did, alhamdulillah.